Hi, this is Julian for Pro Tools Expert. Second video on the Avid S1, and in the first video we had a look at the hardware and exactly what you get. But before long you're going to want to start to mix, and to that end it's useful to know that user 3 is a play start and play stop button by default. So you can set it up to be anything you want, but that's a useful thing because it will keep you over on the work surface learning it rather than back on the keyboard where you're already comfortable. Anyway, so unless your track is only 8 tracks wide or less, then you're going to want to get around, navigate the session. And while you can bank up and down if you want to, there are better ways, particularly these days. We've got things like folder tracks. Here, I've got some folder tracks showing. They're noted by that F, that's like Fortissimo F. You can get to that using Alt F or Option F on your keyboard. And it's a useful way to mark out what's a folder track and what isn't. So on here, what can you do? Well, you can spill them. This is much like VCA Spill. We'll talk about VCAs in a minute. But what you'll get, well, I'll just show you actually. So on this one here, let's say, if I double tap the select button, it spills. So I've got the member tracks across here, and I've got the folder track fader over here. If I want to back out of that, I just double tap over there and I back out. So if I want to come into, let's say, my vocals one, double tap, there we go. I've got all my vocals spilt across here, and to come back out, exactly the same. This is absolutely life-changing. I have to say, it's the most wonderful system. There is another way of doing it. In Pro Tools software, you can shift an F to toggle the folder. You can do the same thing, and by default, that's set up on user 4. Of course, you can change this. This is Yukon. You can set it to anything you want. So over here, let's select one. Let's select this ooze, and that unfolds it. Close it up again. So I mentioned VCAs. Let's go back home. And over here, you'll notice I don't have a drum folder. I've got a VCA instead. If we bank across here we see I've got a VCA fader and a corresponding auxiliary input as well for the submix. And you can do exactly the same thing on here. All you do is you just double tap, and there we go. And we've got all the members of that VCA, and the VCA is locked on here, like you'd imagine, in exactly the same way. So you can spill VCAs in exactly the same way as you might do on another surface, and you might be familiar with that. But personally, I'm a folders man these days. There's nothing that I'm using VCAs for previously that I'm not currently using folders for instead. So that's how you manage larger sessions on an S1 using folder and VCA spill. Great system.